What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I do uploads every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining. Today, I'm going to go through a thread by Lydia Smith, and she came proper as she always does. And it's the 10 Commandments, basically, of our political discourse. She labeled it as ground rules for the right. And I hope she doesn't mind if I take that and say, I'm going to slash out ground rules for the right, and I'm going to put ground rules for our political discourse. Let's go through these. Number one, we must agree on what the problems are. We first have to identify them and then prioritize in a way. I agree completely. We must identify what the problems are and agree in some aspects on those. Because if we don't agree on the problem, how are we going to even solve anything? So find the problems that we overlap and agree with, and then let's work on those. Number two, we must find ways to unite to fight the problems. This may entail sacrifices. This means choosing hills we will die on. I did a video on Officer Brandon Tatum, who do not get me wrong, I think he is great. And it's surprising. I'm not a Republican, and he's a conservative, religious uh, Republican. Well, I don't even know if he would consider himself a Republican. Scratch that. He would consider himself a conservative, though, I believe. And I actually agree with him on a lot of stuff. It might not surprise people listening to here, but I do agree with him on a lot. I did not agree with the way he handled the gender issue in our country, and I thought he was insensitive with that, and unnecessarily so. But I have to respect his. He's a religious person where he's coming from. I just want to ask the question: is that the hill you want to die on? Because you can get canceled within your conservative area, and I know he's bigger than that and not worried about it, but is it worth it? Number three, we must merely we must stop merely pointing out hypocrisies. This is a waste of time and energy, and I'm going to have to find religion to do this one. All these points are great. This was another great one. How hard is it? Comment, please. Tell me what you think about these 10 ground rules, as she says, for the right, but I'm bringing it to the bigger political discourse and social discourse. How hard is it to not point out hypocrisies? I That is a tough one. I don't know if I'm going to be very honest, I don't know if I can do that one. I should do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. It's just, how do we have a discussion if you're flip-flopping all over the place, and the only thing you're consistent on is that you want authoritative power over me? It's hard to have a discussion. Number four, everything we say must be based in facts. There is no room for error. Excellent. I mean, these are so good. I'm like, did she get these from somewhere? I mean, this is the stuff that, op-eds have gotten so poisonous now. Op-eds from like publishers like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the major outlets. This reminds me of an old school op-ed that would do something like this and then put the points out there. I try to do that. I try my best to stick to that in videos. Number five, we must be versed in logical fallacies and call them out immediately and loudly when we see them. And that is good to distinguish between hypocrisy and logical fallacy. Let me give you a quick example. Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman, she just posted the other day that, the classic, if you disagree with critical race theory, then you're a racist. That is a logical fallacy. That is a circular argument that has to be pointed out, and that's different than a hypocrisy. Number six, we must learn to organize and fight on the left's turf and off. This one is interesting. I agree completely with it, but I'm trying to figure out where is not the left's turf. She said we must learn to organize and fight on the left's turf and off. Where is off the left turf? As you might know, Lydia Smith goes by Lids affectionately, is a producer for Tim Pool, is the producer for Tim Pool. And Tim Pool's show is not off the left. It's on Google's platform. There really aren't many platforms off the left. But I agree. You have to learn how to fight it on the left. Christopher Rufo went on with Joy Reid. And before I go on to the next one, part of this one and number 6 to me is I tweeted to Joy Reid and I said, I appreciate you and MSNBC to have the Christopher Rufo on there. I don't care. I know it was a contentious interview. I know you can argue that Joy Reid tried to control it and not let him talk. It's her show, and she's not going to we don't want to get her embarrassed on her own show. I know some of you do, but no, I want to have a discussion where we actually are open to learning our each other's perspective. But my point is, give props for that. To give Rufo that slot on major, nationwide coverage is amazing, and they did not have to do that. Give Joy Reid some credit for that. Give MSNBC some credit for that. That's number 6. Number 7, we must stop undervaluing the importance of feelings. Like it or not, we cannot escape them and must learn to use them in our favor. I wish I could actually interview her on these to get more, because it's Twitter. She can't really elaborate. That's excellent. I was just talking about that. And I'm trying to do a better job of that when it comes to the rioting from Antifa or Black Lives Matter. There's feelings there. There's issues there that are separate from logic. And you can't fight it and you can't look at it logically. Like the other day in Rock Hill, South Carolina, it didn't look logically there was a rough interaction with police, but no one got hurt really or killed. And it's like they're burning down the police station. Logically, it makes no sense. But emotionally, that's a different topic. So let's try to address it there. Excellent. Number 7. Number 8, we must stop undervaluing culture like art, music, and theater. This is why we have lost so much ground. Some things matter more than taxes. Funny little dig there she did on the right. But yes, we know Breitbart talked about it, and culture is important. You can't undervalue culture. It's more important than politics or social issues. Number 9, we will have to sacrifice some of our individuality to accomplish goals that give people freedom. This is not optional. Excellent. She said some, not all. I agree completely. We must choose not to bicker with each other over petty disagreements. We literally have a world to save. It was ended so well. And I think we have to have conversations, but not over petty stuff. That's a good point. Let me know what you think of those 10 commandments. Let me run them down real quick again. We must agree on what the problems are. We must find ways to unite the fight the problems. This may entail sacrifices. This means choosing hills we will die on. We must stop merely pointing out hypocrisies. This is a waste of time and energy. Everything we say must be based in facts. There is no room for error. We must be versed in logical fallacies and call them out immediately and loudly when we see them. We must learn to organize and fight on the left's turf and off. We must stop undervaluing the importance of feelings. Like it or not, we cannot escape them and must learn to use them in our favor. That might be my favorite one right there. Especially how she said, learn to use them in our favor. I want to know what I got stuff in my head. I'm curious. I might just reply to her, like, what do you mean by that? We must stop undervaluing culture like art, music, and theater. This is why we have lost so much ground. Some things matter more than taxes. Number 9, We will have to sacrifice some of our individuality to accomplish goals that give people freedom. This is not optional. Number 10, we must choose not to bicker with each other over petty disagreements. We literally have a world to save. Take care.